There's been a lot of questions come up within the community around military equipment as well, so I'm going to take a massive radical move over to military. I know it's probably not one of your main subjects, but I just thought I'd get an overview because we've been asking this on a couple of people because it's been relevant recently, to be fair. In regards to UK Defence Forces, is the UK adequately equipped to protect its interests in 2012 and beyond?
Well, obviously what the government has done is to conduct a defence review and look at the strategic importance of 3 different services and the level of servicemen and women that we need taking forward. We also have, of course, the financial position whereby a big black hole was left in the defence budget when the government came to power. That's caused the problems that you have to decide what you're going to do. Equally, it's no good having armed forces that are fighting historical wars. What we need is our armed forces that are fit for purpose for the modern world. Now, for example, talking to several of my colleagues, I don't pretend to be a military expert at all, but several of my colleagues say, well, tanks now are like death traps. You know, they were correct for the Second World War. They were correct when we were combating the Soviet Union, and the chances were the Soviet Union would invade Western Europe. But now that threat has gone away. Actually, you need a much more agile army, so you need different types of transport for them. You need different capabilities, people of high expertise, high training, highly skilled, to be in the field, in theatre, as and when required. Equally, you know, because of the threat they face in Afghanistan on a constant basis, with IEDs and other type of bombs, it's not so much armoured cars, but personal armour that they need. Almost going back. I mean, sort of going back to the Middle Ages, where you know, the individuals had armour and all sorts of other things. Now the same thing is true of our armed services now. And so I think one of the things that has to happen is a sea change to say what type of equipment and what type of services do we provide. Equally, I do worry about reducing the size and scale of the army. You know, I think that's a key concern because we are committed to so many places in the world, and we have an absolutely historical role, and I believe a very strong role with our Commonwealth partners to help protect and preserve them. So that, you know, there are our key roles here, and there are new emerging forces. The rise of China and you know, their global ambitions, I think, has cause for concern. What is going on with Korea, and of course the terrorist organisations that we have to combat, Al Qaeda and others, remain a serious threat, but they need a different sort of response.
But so generally you feel that you can get the organisation of the army in line with modern expectations, but you're still looking to be a global player in terms of the forces.
And that's why now the reserves, the territorial army, are going to be even more important in times to come, because we're going to need those people when there is some form of global conflict, which we're involved in, wherever it is in the world. And I think instead of the territorial army being seen to be a bit of a Cinderella service, I think this will become much more of an important backup to the armed services.
But what are your thoughts on ATOS?
In what respect?
In regards to the way that disabled people are checked to ensure that they are, you know, reassessed to make sure they are disabled.
Well, I mean, one of the problems there's been with disabled people over an extended period of time is that the last government in particular consigned a lot of people that were unemployed onto disability benefits to hide them from being on the unemployment register, to reduce down the number of people unemployed. One of the things that the government's done, which I strongly support, is to say, well, hang on, wait a minute, people may be disabled, they may have disabilities, but that doesn't render them unfit for work. You know, in this day and age, people can do all sorts of jobs that we've never dreamed that they could do. And the thing that brings it home to you strongest, of course, is we're seeing the Paralympics. Now, I know not every disabled person is a Paralympian, but when you start to see what some of those people who have got, you know, have suffered multiple amputations or have other disabilities can achieve in the field of athletics and such like, then it actually starts to take away the scales from the eyes, as it were, and actually demonstrates that yes, there are ways of enabling people who are disabled to go into full-time work. Now, you may have to make adaptations to an office. I mean, clearly someone who's got a seriously injured in their spine is not going to be able to lift things or do things like that. That doesn't mean to say they can't work in an office or in a telephone centre or doing other things. They are capable of doing things, and I think far too often in this society we've said, oh, you're disabled, you can't do anything. Well, actually that's not true. About when I was on the Greater London Assembly, we did an inquiry into disabled people with disability benefits, and one of the problems was that so many people had been consigned to disability benefits, and many of them actually want to work, but they're on benefits, and they see that as being a barrier to getting into work. We also have employers who look upon disabled people and say, well, you can't do it because you're disabled. Well, that's rubbish. We have to change attitudes, I think, in our society to say that yes, you may not have all your limbs, you may not have all your capabilities, physical capabilities of everyone, but you don't need all those to do a particular job. And let's shape the job around those people. So I think part and parcel of what we need to do is obviously to assess people's capability, to get them ready for work, and not consign them to the scrap heap.
Yeah. And you feel that it's going generally in the right direction?
Yes.
On that? That's brilliant. There's been some new stuff in the newspapers, which I know obviously you've had some focus around education, so I'm thinking on the 55 new free schools.
Right.
I know that some of that's within your general area.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the new free school programme which has been extended?
Well, the new free school programme, I think, is a breath of fresh air to education.
Yeah.
These are people that are coming together. They may be educationalists, they may be concerned parents, they may be a particular group of people coming together to get a free school off the ground, and to break the monopoly there's been of one type of education, and everyone must fit that type of education. Instead, we have in my constituency, we're going to have the first Hindu state secondary school in the country, which will be a free school. And I strongly support the right of parents to choose an educational ethos for their children they want. And if that's faith-based, then why shouldn't they have a state school in the same way? We have Christian schools, we have Jewish schools, and I strongly support having a Hindu school. And I also think that we should have Muslim schools, provided they conform to the national curriculum and they conform to all the rules that we associate with those particular schools. So they're not exclusive to particular religions or particular groups of people.
Yep.
They are inclusive and will encourage people to come in, but they have a basis behind which the education will be operated.
Brilliant. And I'll just round up, because I know we've got you very short notice. So just one last question is, so if you could put forward one policy and it would not be objected,
right.
What policy would be your key policy?
I'm very keen on promoting housing for everyone.
Yeah.
And one of the things I feel very passionate about is that there should be the right to buy for housing association tenants, and it should be enshrined in law, and housing association tenants should have the right to buy their property in which they live.
Brilliant. That's excellent. No, I appreciate all your time, and if you ever wander onto PoliticsUK, we are definitely on all mediums now. So,
good.
So I appreciate all that, and I'll obviously just bring that to a close. So thank you a lot.